The homelessness crisis in America has reached record levels in 2025. Rising rents, the shortage of affordable housing, and the impact of mental health and addiction have left hundreds of thousands of people without a stable place to live. Across the country, the total homeless population has climbed to more than 770,000, the highest number ever recorded. But the problem is not spread evenly. Some cities account for far more of the population than others, with entire neighborhoods transformed by the crisis. Today, we're counting down the top 10 U.S. cities with the largest homeless populations in 2025 and looking at the unique challenges each of them faces. At number 10 is Washington, D.C. The nation's capital has long struggled with poverty and rising housing costs, which leave many residents unable to afford even the most basic apartments. Encampments appear under overpasses, along busy streets, and in public parks, while shelters often reach full capacity. The visibility of this issue is amplified by its location, as the world sees it unfold just blocks from the U.S. Capitol and the White House. Local leaders have worked to expand housing-first strategies and have made some progress reducing family homelessness, but single adult homelessness remains stubbornly high. Affordable housing supply has lagged far behind demand, and eviction rates remain elevated. The contrast between the immense wealth and power concentrated in Washington and the struggles of its most vulnerable residents is one of the starkest in the country. In 2025, Washington, D.C. is home to about 6,800 homeless individuals. At number 9, we have Sacramento, California. Sacramento has grown rapidly in recent years, attracting people priced out of the Bay Area, but housing construction hasn't matched that growth. Rents have soared, and thousands of residents have been forced into instability. Encampments now stretch along the American River, under freeway overpasses, and into downtown neighborhoods, making homelessness one of the most visible issues in the city. As the state capital, Sacramento also becomes the destination for people from surrounding counties that lack sufficient shelter or support programs. That inflow has further strained local resources. The city has tried to respond with safe camping sites and sanctioned shelter villages, but these fill quickly, leaving many without options. The problem has reached a scale that reshapes daily life, from public debates to local elections. In 2025, Sacramento has about 7,700 homeless individuals. Coming in at number 8 is Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix has been one of the fastest growing cities in the nation, but that rapid expansion has created deep strains on its housing market. Evictions have climbed, rental costs have spiked, and the number of people pushed into homelessness has grown year after year. The most visible symbol of this crisis is The Zone, a sprawling encampment near downtown that has drawn national attention. Living outdoors in Phoenix is especially dangerous, as summer temperatures regularly soar past 110 degrees. Heat-related illnesses and even deaths have been reported among those with no shelter. The city has opened cooling centers and expanded shelters, but demand far outpaces supply. The homelessness crisis now overshadows Phoenix's reputation as a place of growth and opportunity. In 2025, Phoenix has about 9,400 homeless individuals. At number 7 is San Francisco, California. San Francisco has become one of the most recognized symbols of America's homelessness crisis. Known for its incredible tech wealth and high quality of life, the city also struggles with extreme inequality. Encampments, open-air drug use, and overcrowded shelters have become daily realities, with the Tenderloin neighborhood serving as the most visible epicenter. City officials have poured billions into supportive housing and addiction services, but the scale of the challenge continues to outpace solutions. Skyrocketing housing costs have made it nearly impossible for working-class families to remain stable, while mental health and substance use issues add additional layers of complexity. For many visitors, the visible crisis is the first impression they get of San Francisco, shaping national debates about housing and urban policy. In 2025, San Francisco is home to about 8,300 homeless individuals. At number 6, we have San Diego, California. San Diego offers one of the most desirable lifestyles in the U.S., with beautiful beaches and a booming tourism economy. But behind the sunshine is a deepening homelessness crisis. Housing affordability has deteriorated sharply, and unsheltered homelessness has spread across neighborhoods from downtown to the city's suburban corridors. Local leaders have converted hotels into temporary shelters and built bridge housing programs, but the sheer demand keeps rising. San Diego also faces the added strain of being a border city, where new arrivals add pressure to an already fragile system. The clash between luxury coastal development and sprawling tent encampments highlights the city's stark inequalities. In 2025, San Diego has about 10,600 homeless individuals. At number 5 is Denver, Colorado. Denver's popularity has skyrocketed, with new residents drawn by its job market and access to the outdoors. But that growth has fueled soaring housing prices, leaving many longtime residents unable to afford rent. The result has been the rapid spread of encampments across downtown and surrounding areas. The city has tried innovative responses like sanctioned safe camping zones and tiny home villages, but these solutions cover only a fraction of the need. As Denver's economy thrives on one side, thousands of residents remain locked out of stability. The divide between prosperity and poverty has become one of the city's defining challenges. In 2025, Denver is home to about 14,300 homeless individuals. Sliding into number 4 is Seattle, Washington. Seattle's booming tech sector has created immense wealth, but also some of the most expensive housing in the country. For many, even with relatively high wages, the cost of rent is simply too much. As a result, unsheltered homelessness has surged, with encampments visible along highways, in city parks, and in neighboring communities. Seattle's rainy climate makes living outdoors miserable for much of the year, yet thousands endure it because shelters are full. The city has expanded tiny house villages and invested in permanent supportive housing, but the problem keeps growing. Seattle has become one of the clearest examples of how prosperity can drive affordability out of reach for ordinary residents. In 2025, Seattle has about 16,000 homeless individuals. At number 3, we have Chicago, Illinois. Chicago faces a different type of homelessness crisis compared to the West Coast. Because of brutal winters, the majority of its homeless population depends on a large shelter system, though encampments still exist in neighborhoods and under viaducts. Poverty, economic inequality, and a shortage of affordable rental housing continue to drive instability. The city has launched new initiatives to expand transitional housing and supportive services, but progress has been slow. Even though Chicago doesn't receive as much national attention as Los Angeles or San Francisco, its numbers are large enough to place it among the hardest-hit cities in the country. In 2025, Chicago is home to about 18,800 homeless individuals. At number 2 is Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles is ground zero for unsheltered homelessness in America. Tens of thousands of people live outdoors across the city, in sprawling encampments on sidewalks, in freeway underpasses, and in public parks. Downtown Skid Row remains one of the largest and most concentrated homeless communities in the nation. Despite billions in funding and new housing initiatives, progress has been painfully slow. Rents and home prices remain far out of reach for the working class, and shelters can't come close to meeting the need. Los Angeles has become the most visible face of the nation's homelessness crisis, showing the human cost of an affordability problem that continues to grow. In 2025, Los Angeles has about 71,200 homeless individuals. And finally, at number 1 is New York City, New York. New York has the largest homeless population in the United States by far. Unlike Los Angeles, where most live outdoors, New York's crisis is concentrated in its enormous shelter system. Tens of thousands of families, single adults and children rely on the city's shelters every night, and thousands more live on the streets, particularly in Manhattan and the Bronx. The city's affordability challenges have been compounded by the expiration of pandemic protections and the arrival of migrants seeking refuge. New York spends billions each year on shelters and services, yet the scale of the problem keeps growing. For a city that is home to immense wealth and global influence, the sheer size of its homeless population is staggering. In 2025, New York City is home to about 140,000 homeless individuals. So there you have it, the top 10 U.S. cities with the largest homeless populations in 2025. From Washington, D.C. to New York City, these numbers represent more than statistics. They reflect people, families, and communities living in crisis. The story of homelessness is also the story of housing, affordability, and inequality in America. By understanding where the crisis is most severe, we see both the urgency of the challenge and the importance of finding solutions. How these cities respond over the next decade will help define the future of urban America.